Leadership is needed more now than ever before. And the highest performing leaders in any organization or business have above average emotional intelligence. You might have heard of emotional intelligence, right? Through authors such as Dan Coleman, who talks about the importance of emotional intelligence versus IQ, how they go together, what's more important. And the reality is, high emotional intelligence is a staple of any strong business leader, and you can improve your emotional intelligence. And today, with our expert Tracy Solarek, we're going to talk about why emotional intelligence is so important in your leadership style, as well as how you can build your own emotional intelligence to become the best leader you can be. So we're going to have a great time talking to Tracy here, and I'll introduce you to her in a second. But you know the fee for the broadcast. We don't run ads. We don't have sponsors because we don't want to interrupt your viewing experience. And you are the reason the show has grown the way it has over the past year, because the only fee for the show is we ask that when you take away one piece of value, one strategy, one insight, anything that helps you to live a better life and become a better leader, share this show with just one other person who you feel would take value away from this episode. Each episode you listen to, share it with one person because you are the best part of the Be Better team. So without further ado, let's talk to our expert today in emotional intelligence and leadership. Her name is Tracy Solarek. And for those who don't know Tracy, Tracy helps to build more productive leadership teams by leveraging emotional intelligence within organizations. She provides high-performance coaching to guide leaders to achieve their personal and professional goals. Powered with 25 years of professional experience across many industries, Tracy empowers leaders to effectively influence change, increase communication, and positively impact the bottom line. Tracy, I'm glad that we made this happen. Thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much. I was thinking about this podcast this morning, and it's such a great synergy because your show is called Be Better. And that's exactly what my goal is to just help people be better. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. When I put my feet on the ground, I'm like, how can I help someone else just be just a little bit better? And I chosen my path through emotional intelligence.
I absolutely love that. So emotional intelligence is something that I personally discovered the term of and really what it means really only probably a couple years ago is when I read the book by Dan Coleman. I got an idea of what it is,
Yep.
and I experienced it much earlier in my life, obviously, but I didn't intellectually know what it was until recently. And when I first met you, I was struck by a few things. Number one, your vast experience in what you've done in the business world, how you've helped leaders, as well as your mission and your enthusiasm in moving forward to do what you do, to work with other businesses, organizations, but also because you're just really awesome to talk to. So
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad we made this happen. But for those listening and they're like, how does emotional intelligence tie into being a great leader? Let me ask you, what role does emotional intelligence play in being an effective leader?
The role it plays is that we need to understand and have our own self-actualization, understand who we are before we can even be a leader. So if you look at a formal definition of emotional intelligence, it's a set of emotional and social skills, and it's how we perceive and express ourselves. Then how do we develop and, more importantly, maintain our relationships? And then how do we cope with challenges? So we really need to take that pause, take a breath before we're responding back to anything. And that helps us be a better emotional intelligence leader, because then we'll become more empathetic, more relatable, we'll be better motivators and more effective. So that's it in a nutshell. I guess the show's over. How's that?
I think that you described it better in this 15 seconds and easier to understand than any book on the subject I've read.
Oh,
So
thank you.
emotional intelligence is having an understanding, everyone listen, because this is powerful, having
Hmm.
an understanding of who we are as human
Hmm.
beings, how we are able to and effectively maintain relationships. And by
Hmm.
the way, this isn't just in the workplace, this is also in our lives with our
Personally, yeah.
family, our children, our
Mhm.
spouses, and it's also how we cope with challenges. And it's very clear to see how each of these ties into leadership, because leadership is literally all of these things,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
where do you find that most leaders that you work with are it might not be the best way to describe it, but where do you see that most leaders fall short when it comes to emotional intelligence when you're working with them?
What a good question. The first that comes to mind is that empathy. Especially during our time of COVID, we really need to be so much more empathetic than ever before. And if you're not in tune with how are others feeling, how are they showing up? What are they? They don't want to bring this baggage to the office, but the people got a lot going on, and they're stressed on so many different levels that they've never been stressed on before. So empathy would be the top one that people could always use, just a little bit more empathy in their lives.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, especially in the world that we live in now, where we
Mm,
are so distracted and we are so focused on so many different things, like especially with social media and having the ability to be on social media, and the way that we even interact with people has changed because of social media, and even the way that we have conversations with people virtually, like with
mm,
our teams as leaders. We are apt to type something and have it come across so much different than what we're actually trying to convey. And
mhm.
it's harder to express empathy. Maybe not harder, might not be the right word, and we can talk about this, but it's more difficult to express empathy when so many people even are working from home now and even
Mhm.
leading remotely across the country or even the world. When it comes to empathy, are there specific things that you like to teach on that helps people to be more empathic, even being in an environment or situation that's not necessarily human in the primal way that we understand it from how we used to lead back in even the last century?
Right, exactly. I always invite people to take that pause and to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Even though that's really difficult, because a lot of us, we hide what's really going on, but in order to be more empathetic is really think about where's that person coming from? So that would kind of be it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I remember for me when I transitioned from being a sales rep to being a sales leader.
Mhm.
It was during the time of my life where I was doing very well in sales, but I was 60 pounds heavier. I was in tons of debt. I was negative, and I wanted to be a leader. And I remember I had a mentor, my boss at the time, come to me and say, "There's no way you're going to be a leader anytime soon because you can't lead other people if you can't lead yourself. Other
Mm,
people won't respect you if you're
mm,
not able to respect yourself." And he helped me to make big shifts. And within the next 6 months, I lost 60 pounds. I was able to eliminate all my credit card debt within 8 months. And within a year from there, I moved into a leadership position. And I didn't understand emotional intelligence. Like I didn't read books at that point. A little bit, like The Secret, I read How to Win Friends, Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I know
mhm.
you're part of the
Yep.
Carnegie Institution as well. And the first thing that he recommended I do, and I think of this because you mentioned empathy, is I was instructed. I didn't just think of this, but I didn't have the best relationship with the people on my team.
Mm,
And I had to mend that, and I had to build rapport, and I had to be a human, right? And I was told to go to each person and ask them, "Hey, what is the best way that I can support you right now if I was your leader? Even if I wasn't, like as a human being to a human being, how can I best help you? Like I see you're here on the leaderboard. Tell me a bit about your daily life. What do you believe attributes to you being here?" And people opened up because people aren't used to others having a profound interest in
mm,
them,
mhm,
right? Except
mhm,
for the people closest to us, and even so, maybe not even then. So
mhm.
it's unnatural. It can feel unnatural at first to express that empathy, especially maybe because of the way we were raised and so on and so forth. But that empathy really is the foundation to build the relationship with others. So there
Absolutely.
can even be a thin layer of trust there.
Mhm. You're reminding me of a time when I acquired a large team, and I thought the same thing. How do you motivate people? And I followed. It's like you and I were cut from the same cloth. It was to sit down with somebody and actually ask them, "What motivates you? How do you like to receive appreciation?" If you think about,
Mm,
um, you know, people don't receive appreciation very much. And there's a statistic out there, that especially as adults, that we don't really share that. And And everyone likes to receive appreciation differently. Some people are like, just thank me privately one-on-one. Other people say, when we're in a company meeting, I wouldn't mind if you kind of dropped my name that I worked so hard on that project. So I applaud you for meeting with everyone one-on-one to ask, what motivates you? And how do you like to receive appreciation? It's just opening those lines of communication are so important in leadership.
I love that advice. Yeah, that question too, it seems simple, but just directly asking somebody one to one, hey, what is the best way that you like to receive appreciation?
And what motivates you?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, it's money. Is it money? Or is it, I'm motivated because I have flexibility. I'm motivated because I get this really prestigious project to work on. You never know. That's why you got to ask. That's why I need to open these lines of communication. And that's exactly what I do in my role as a
Now,
contact.
regarding your role, how did you find yourself where you are now? Like what brought Tracy to this
Mm-hmm.
point? I know that you work with the Dale Carnegie Institute. You do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of interesting and cool things. Like how did you get here doing what you're doing?
How did I get here? I was sitting in a disc training in a corporate surrounding. And I thought to myself, why aren't I up there doing that? I like presenting. I like uncovering what people really have within. And it was shortly after that time that I thought, how can I help people? I have this piece. I'm highly empathetic, and I took my own assessment, and I decided to get certified in emotional intelligence. And from there, launched my company. And I started with a wonderful circle of friends and family that took the assessment. We started out on our coaching. And it's through the coaching that I realized, wow, this is just something very natural to me, asking those poignant questions. And really, the best thing is when you are with somebody who's coachable. So when you ask, how did I get into this? It's just, I was looking at what are my strengths? That's how I got into it. Identifying what are my strengths. And from there, how do I then reinvent myself? But did I really reinvent myself? I don't think so. It was more pulling on those strengths and then building my company.
Yeah, it was building on the foundation that you built throughout your
My career.
long
Exactly.
career, the things
When
that
you're
you
in
learned.
marketing for over 20 years, you meet an incredible amount of people. I know that part of your audience are salespeople. I love salespeople. They're always very charismatic, and especially talking with salespeople. And I've always been tied to them because of my marketing role. So I love the energy that salespeople bring, their drive, their motivation. What gets them out of bed in the morning. It's their drive. They're like, look, how can I make that next thing happen? So
Yeah,
um,
they wanna make a difference, and that's
they sure
why
do.
I
So do
love
I.
this
So it's
broadcast.
kinda like a good tie in there to say, "Yeah, I wanna make a difference also." So
Yeah.
that's how I got into it, is I talked to a lot of good friends, and of course my very, very supportive family to say, "Gosh, what should I be doing? What should I do for the rest of my life?" And I found it, and I'm so excited that I found my niche, and I am humbled by how people describe their experience with me.
Yeah.
To have a lawyer of 178 people in his firm say, "Tracy, you've made me a better person." I said, "Matt, I didn't make you a better person, you did. You
Wow.
you were just very open, you were coachable. You did the work. I asked the questions."
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. That's the best feeling of all when you make a
Mhm,
difference for someone else, and making a difference for that one person then makes a difference for all 178 people just
mhm.
by working with one person that is the leader, because everything trickles down.
Absolutely. I can't also say enough about my network. I've been in this area since 1990, working in different organizations, and during COVID, former CEOs or active CEOs or anyone in the C-suite, anyone that's a leader. I think of anyone's really a leader. You could be the best leader in your cleaning team of cleaning offices.
Mm.
Uncover for that person. What do you want to do with your life? But I was fortunate enough that I knocked on doors and people took my calls and I would have my discovery calls. I call them on Zoom, and we would just talk through my solution. How do I make it better? And I am so fortunate to have such a great circle of folks in my network.
Yeah, networking is everything, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, "You gotta meet Christine Smith,"
Mm,
and because she's like the networking Jedi, like,
yeah. Yeah.
incredible. I learned a lot from her when it comes to networking and really intentional networking.
Mhm.
And I feel that networking in itself can help you to become more emotionally intelligent.
Without a
Really
doubt.
just having conversations with other people from different walks of life who are a
Mhm.
few steps ahead of you, vastly ahead of you, maybe a few steps behind you, and just helping each other in itself, just as human beings, like we would have back in the tribe. Back in the tribe, we would have naturally asked the questions of how do you like to receive appreciation? What are
Right.
your strengths? What are you motivated by? Like, but now with everything so vast and spread out the way that it is, and so many opportunities, we're not taught emotional intelligence. We're not taught sales. And like you were saying, I love salespeople too. And that's why they're the main audience for this broadcast, because
Mhm.
we're not taught how to sell in school. We're not taught how to win friends and influence people. We're not
Right.
taught that in
Right.
school. We're taught the soft skills, which have their importance, but we're not taught how to actually engage with other people and lead other people. It blows my mind that Leadership 101 is a college course, but not everyone goes there. So what happens to the cleaning person who decides to go out of high school, start a cleaning business? What
Mhm.
happens for that person? How do they learn to lead? So I'm curious on that thread of conversation now. Let's say you're talking with the leader of that firm or the leader of the cleaning company, or even someone who's a leader in their family who wants to become more emotionally intelligent.
Mhm.
What does it look like if that person and you were on a discovery call and they say, Tracy, I need your help. I'm looking to up my emotional intelligence. They probably don't say that. They probably say, I want to be a more effective leader and emotional intelligence is the solution. But you tell me, how do you help people improve in that area?
Sure. A lot of people during the discovery call, they'll say, I have could be themselves or a team member. I'm looking to really build my confidence. I need to stay more focused. I need to have better relationships. So during the discovery call, I share a PowerPoint, just a few slides, and to really get them their minds around, they take an online assessment, and I'm certified through Multi Health Systems. They've been around for 30 years, and their corporate clients are wonderful military, American Express, and other really big names. So I show them what a sample report is, and that sample report uh, is the result of taking the assessment, and it has 15 different categories. And then in their report, they'll see, well, the longer the bar, the more they're using that skill set. The shorter the bar, they're not using that skill set so much. And that's okay. That's why we're engaged in this. So right away, I have that tool, those results that's customized for each individual. And then from there, I have a debrief. We go through the report in detail. That takes about an hour. And then the roadmap package includes 3 coaching sessions. So I always ask the participant, what do you want to focus on? And human nature says, well, of course, the ones that I'm not that high in right now. I'm like, okay. And we focus on the different areas, and that can be anything from impulse control to optimism, maybe flexibility, problem solving, because there's 15 of these soft skills that are evaluated. And it's through that after every session, I send an email, hey, here's what we worked on, and here's some action items. Because I'm all about, if you're going to invest in yourself, how are you going to move yourself to that next place? So I always provide action items. And then at the end of the first engagement, that roadmap, I create a smart action plan. And I do that. It's like my gift to the participant, that I look at all of the wonderful conversations we've had over our engagement, and I give them this gift that says, here are some things that you're already working on, and here are some things that I invite you to do more of. And I'm humbled that I've had clients say, my company is not going to um, fund this for me, but I would like to work with you one on one, out of pocket.
Yeah.
And that's like the best compliment, that people are seeing such a new version of themselves. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I found that the greatest leaders invest in themselves,
Hmm.
even when their company won't send them to something. Obviously, it's very valuable if your company does send you to a seminar or a retreat or even a Dale Carnegie course, because it's far and few between, right? And if you are a part of an organization that does that, that's amazing. But if they don't, how are you working to invest and improve yourself, even if other people aren't necessarily funding or helping you to do that? And
Hmm.
that's one of the biggest traits of leadership is how often are you working to grow and become a better version of yourself each and every day.
Hopefully
But
every day.
yeah, hopefully, but it wasn't like that for me. It took me a
Mhm.
while to realize I need to work on me even harder than I work on my job. Because if I work on me, that trickles down to my team, it trickles down to the people that I lead and the people that I'm making a difference for. When you have those 15 skills there, or however many it is in the assessment, and people say, I want to work on the ones that are the lowest, right? Because that's what a lot of us think, like you said. Do you recommend they work on the skills that they're not great in, or do you recommend people get better at the skills that they are already great in?
A little of both.
Okay.
So when we start, always start when I'm going through the debrief with, here's one of the ones. Let's look at, you're so hard in, or you're very high in, let's say, self actualization, which is your whole self improvement, which is why they're doing this in the first place, right?
Mm,
Because they're high in self improvement. Just usual, the usual, if you could even say that, an average. And so I always start with one that's really strong to build that trust.
okay.
They're
I like that.
comfortable in the process, that they see the questions that I'm asking, and can you provide an example of when you are really focused on your self improvement, so that we build our flow.
And you work on one thing at a time.
Mm, just at the very
Several.
beginning, just at that debrief, we'll
Okay.
work on focusing on that, and then it's really up to the participant. And then during the engagement, during the coaching, they come back to me and say, I worked on my action plan, and I'm working on these couple of things, and that's sprinkled in. That could be a couple things. So it really depends on it's all customized to the participant,
I love that.
100%. Hey, I had this big meeting and I was so nervous walking in. I didn't know what to do. I said, okay, well, let's talk through that. What good skills did you use? And I don't want to give all my tips away, but
Give it all away, Tracy. Come on.
that's it's really up to the participant, and it's customized. How's
It's
that?
tailored. It's very custom to
Yes,
the person because we're all
without a
different
doubt. Mhm.
in the ways that we operate and the ways that we lead.
Yep.
Your leadership roadmap is what we're talking about right now.
Mhm.
And for those listening who say, I want to become more emotionally intelligent, but not even that, I want to become a higher confidence, a higher empathy, and a more effective leader. How do people get a hold of you in order to go through this leadership roadmap system?
Sure, they can certainly shoot me an email. They can go to my website, which is optimum with a Y, potential.com. My email, Tracy at Optimal Potential. And lately, Brandon, I'm getting back to the good old fashioned phone call. I
Wow,
really am, because you never know if something's going into spam. And it's just good to touch base with people. So I'll provide my phone number too, if, after the show or whatever, and you can use that.
that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I just kinda like the old-fashioned phone call these days.
I like that. And that's going to appeal to other people who like the old fashioned phone call too.
Mhm.
The-
You mentioned, if I could, emotional intelligence and leadership skills, and that we don't learn these in high school even, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to Tech Valley High School, where this wonderful group of students, they wanted to have a session on active listening, and to meet with students, there are about 30 of them in this wonderful, very customized program for these high schoolers. They come from all different counties. And I really believe it's so important to build these emotional intelligence skills into our youth, that it should be second nature. So there are a couple of TED Talks on the importance of building emotional intelligence in higher ed. And I have a higher ed package as well. I'm working with a student right now from Northwestern, and she is a nurse practitioner, or excuse me, physician assistant student. And she said, I did really, really well academically. I'm having a hard time communicating because I'm so introverted and I'm shy. I said, okay, well, let's work on that. Let's work on uncovering that. And I know this person is going to excel because she's just such a wonderful person and comfortable around those that she knows. But how do we peel that onion back for this young person to be more confident in her communications with others? So I'm a big advocate. So how do we get more of our youth um, to be aware of and utilize their emotional intelligence skills?
Wow. I
Yeah.
can't imagine having been a student and learning these things when I was young, learning that these were most importantly skills that I can actually improve in. and that I wasn't born with a certain baseline of confidence or
Mm,
empathy or anything. I was born with the ability to improve in each and every single one of these areas.
mhm,
And that belief, more than anything back then, would have served me so much more. And I'm happy with where I am, but if we can ingrain this in our youth, even
mhm,
in
mhm,
elementary school, and start teaching these things very young, even before kids get to school, and with parents, and helping
mhm.
parents who are leaders will help them teach their kids these things, obviously. But I think that's super valuable, that's something that you offer for the education
Yeah, I
system.
think it's so important. The other thing you mentioned is Dale Carnegie, and I'll throw in a plug for Dale. I'm a graduate of Dale Carnegie, and as Brandon mentioned, Dale wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And Warren Buffett is a graduate of Dale Carnegie, and he obviously is very well educated. And the one certificate he has hanging on his wall, and the one program that he says when people ask him, "What's your best stock tip or what's your best leadership?" He said, "Go to Dale Carnegie." And
Mhm.
Dale Carnegie also teaches the confidence. And as a Dale Carnegie producer, I'm fortunate enough to be ingrained in that content for the 8-week classes via Zoom. And I'm the one that does the sample talks and work on the technology. That's why when you said, click that mute button, Tracy, I'm like, I know all about it. Because I've had some of our participants be like, yeah, what happened? But it's through Dale Carnegie that you're also increasing that confidence. And I'm on the path to be a Dale Carnegie trainer, and I'm like, looking forward
Awesome.
to that experience as well, because the combined content of Dale and working with other folks to increase their emotional intelligence, it just makes me so happy inside. It like puts fire in my belly.
Yeah,
Maybe
you'll be an
during
incredible
the day, and I'm
instructor.
like, "Ah, gosh, this person's working so hard." And so it's like I found my niche. May have taken me a while. I found my niche though, and I'm
Yeah.
proud of that.
And this is the chapter that you're in now.
I love it. Yep.
You'll make an incredible instructor,
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Now, for those listening who are saying, "This is all amazing, but I would really love just one thing that I can do each day in order to improve and
Mhm.
strengthen my
Mhm.
emotional intelligence."
Yep.
If someone's saying that who's listening, what would you offer that person in terms of advice?
Take on the smile challenge. What's that, you ask? When you're walking down the street or wherever you are, look people in the eye and give them your best smile, and try to get 5 people to smile back at you. And what you'll find is you're lifting your head, you're engaging with people, and you're building your own confidence by interacting with a stranger.
That's powerful. I love that. And people are gonna be like, some people are gonna be like, "Well, that guy's weird. He just looked up and smiled." But they're gonna be like, "But it made me feel good for some reason," you know?
Right, right.
That natural connection that
Mhm.
we all need is super powerful, and it changes your physiology in the
It sure
process, which
does.
is
And
going to change the way you feel.
you go, "Oh, that person smiled back at me."
Yeah, 100%.
That's my one thing.
Excellent advice. Tracy, all this has been excellent advice. It's been incredible talking with you. Everybody who's listening, links will be in the description to go follow Tracy on social, to check out Optimum Potential on their website, and to give her an old-fashioned phone call to talk about how she can help you improve in your confidence, your leadership abilities, and so much more. Tracy, thanks so much for being on the broadcast.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Brandon. I love how you're helping professionals like myself, entrepreneurs, get the word out. You have just contagious energy, and so I really appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate that. Talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
I love conversations that result in actionable things that we can do right now in order to improve in our confidence, our leadership ability, our empathy, our communication skills, all of those things. And Tracy has given you a lot of awesome things that you can use. You can go to the people on your team and you can ask them, "Hey, what motivates you, right? What are your strengths? What's the best way that you like to be appreciated? The number one way." You can do that with your team. You can do that with your family. You can do that with your children. You can do it with your friends. You can do it with the people that you network with. Empathy anywhere is going to serve you as one of the most valuable tools, but also just ways of being as a human being that will further your career and will further your quality of life overall, as well as the smile challenge that we talked about. I think that's actually one of my top takeaways, because we can forget the power that a simple smile and a nod in someone's direction can do for them. But can also do for us in the way that it makes us feel. And it reconnects us to other people, and it reconnects us to humanity. I hope you took a ton out of this conversation with Tracy. Links will be in the description to book a discovery call with her and see if what Tracy is offering will help you in your career and in your leadership, and maybe even bring her in to speak to your team of leaders or your team, no matter what kind of organization you're a part of, education or business. So links are in the description. If you took away even one thing from this conversation, please share this show with just one person. You're the reason we've grown the way that we have over the past year, because you are the best part of the Be Better team. Thank you for watching and tuning in. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.